Welcome back to a brand new spoiler review of the brand new episode of The Last of Us on HBO. This is the fourth of 9 episodes hitting HBO. So welcome back to this video. Today I'm going to break down the whole episode, what I thought about the episode, how it connects to the games. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that I will not be spoiling things for people who have not played the games for future episodes, things that they are hinting at, things that they are setting up. I will not go into specifics about any of those things. So I'm just going spoilers for this episode and the game up to this point. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do this breakdown every single Monday. Do the Bad Batch reviews every single Wednesday, other TV show reviews, other movie reviews, a box office breakdown show every single Tuesday, and others. So please subscribe, ring the bell. Comment down below. This is your favorite, least favorite episode of the season thus far. Do you like the show? Do you not like the show? Did you play the games? Did you not play the games? And then also, please, guys, like the video. That's the thumbs up button down below. That's how you really help this channel in a great way. So please hit that thumbs up button down below. So this episode is called Please Hold to My Hand. And this episode is all focused on Joel and Ellie. They do that road trip, very similar beats to the game. But the biggest difference between this and the game is that in the game, this whole episode usually took place in Pittsburgh in the video game. And in the show, it takes place in Kansas City. Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, who co-wrote the story in the show, talked about how, based on where they were shooting, it felt the most like Kansas City. And that's why they kind of went with Kansas City. But we kind of get this bonding for the first, I would say, this is actually the shortest episode 2 of the season. I think 50 minutes with credits. Switching all that. So it's nearly like a 45-minute episode. So it's definitely by far the shortest of the season so far. But this is about Joel and Ellie going to Bill's house after getting that very special episode of television last week. With this episode, Joel and Ellie are basically just driving on this road trip. Ellie does the puns thing that she does in the first game as well. And you just see the bond grow between Joel and Ellie. Even though Joel calls her just cargo, they clearly both do care about each other. And Joel talked about it in the game, and he talks about it in the show a lot. You need something to fight for to get yourself through something like this. And I believe that both of them see themselves as that person, and they're very similar. And that comes up with that big kill scene towards the end of the episode. But they're driving through, they stop at some places, they'll eat, they drink coffee. He drinks coffee. They have these great back and forth, talks about Tommy's past. As we go through, they get to this big scene in Kansas City where they have to go around this Fedra site. And this is where they run into those junkers, those pirates, as some people like to say, those scavengers. One of them's faking like he's hurt and needs help, and obviously Joel, if he knows or not, is not going to help anyone in this situation. So he drives right through them. They get bombarded and attacked. This leads to Joel killing all of them except one person, and Ellie's left to be behind the door. Joel's about to die, and this is where Ellie comes in, shoots him, doesn't kill him. The person who was about to kill Joel's begging for his life. And instead of Joel hugging her, and she's clearly an emotional, fractured moment now, the fact that she shot someone and that type of situation, he just says, hide behind it, and then he kills him. And afterwards, Joel basically has this whole conversation with Ellie that this is just crazy, that this is the first time. You just can't be a kid anymore in this type of society. I mean, Tess talked about that back in episode 2, and now Joel's kind of you're just not allowed to be a kid. It's something that you just can't relate to being brought up in this world. So Ellie's crying, and she can't really, it's a very fracturing moment for her emotionally. So Joel helps her with her gun, which is a really fun scene. We're telling her how to hold the trigger. And this is just finally Joel trusting Ellie with something. He would always make her stay in the car, and Joel can't do this alone, clearly, because he would have been dead if he really wanted Ellie to stay back. And Ellie did her job, but both of them know that they can't wipe off the emotion. They have to keep moving on. And Craig Mazin beautifully talked about that in the post part of the episode, that Ellie did something that Joel always does, which basically, even if you're emotional, or you feel something, you just wipe off those tears and keep moving. And it's something that is a very dark thing to do, but Joel and Ellie both do that. The other big part of this episode is the introduction of a new character, not in the video games, but debuting here in the show, which is Kathleen, played by Emmy nominee Melanie Lynskey, who obviously got nominated for Yellow Jackets. She plays the character who's kind of the leader of these scavengers, and her number one person is Perry, played by Jeffrey Pierce. Now, for maybe people who don't play, yes, especially if you don't play the video games, you don't really know this cameo. The person with that long beard, the old man with the beard who's with Kathleen for the majority of the episode, is Jeffrey Pierce. Jeffrey Pierce played Tommy, Joel's brother in the video game. So that was a really nice cameo. We've now seen Marlene, the person who played Marlene, the person who's playing Marlene played Marlene in the video game. But now the actor who played Tommy is now playing Perry in the Last of Us TV show. Just another great cameo get from Neil Druckmann. But Kathleen's talking about this doctor. There's huge a past involved. Kathleen's a very ruthless leader who also needs to lie to her people to keep things moving, which she obviously does towards the end of this episode. I find this episode really compelling because they introduce a character who, for maybe people in many shows, will just be the bland villain. But as our creators and actors say it towards the end of the episode, in the post-show, these might not be bad people. It's people who have to make hard choices, sometimes out of necessity, most of the time out of necessity, and it takes them down these paths. And that is kind of what we're at with Kathleen. I wouldn't call her a villain or a bad person, but someone who's probably made tons of bad choices. And that makes the show so compelling, that there aren't any clear-cut heroes and villains. Yes, you're obviously rooting for Joel and Ellie, and maybe you're not really rooting for Kathleen, but it's not clear-cut like that from a story point of view and from a character point of view. Joel has done some awful things, awful things that he can't even talk to Ellie about, because Ellie kept asking him, did you kill innocent people? And he obviously did, and he didn't really want to talk about it. And obviously Kathleen, it looks like something really bad happened to her early in life, and she made choices because of that choice when she was a kid, and all those choices lead her to her place now. So I love the idea of making good or bad choices, taking our characters where they really need and have to be in the situation in this post-apocalyptic world. So for me, I love that aspect of the episode. Towards the end of the episode, we finally see Joel smiling, probably for the first time in 20 years since Sarah died, with Ellie's puns. They go to sleep. They clearly are starting to care about each other. And this is where we get Henry and Sam's characters added to the mix. Henry's played by Lamar Johnson. Sam's played by, hopefully I'm saying this right, Kavan Woodard. They're very important characters in the video game, especially in this part of the video game. And again, I'm not going to spoil what happens, who Henry and Sam are, but we see Henry and Sam pointing a gun at Joel and Ellie, with Sam ending the episode shushing Ellie. And this idea of children in this world being ripped from any sense of childhood. And we begin the episode talking about that with Ellie holding a gun, playing with her gun at the beginning of this episode. And we end the episode with Sam, another child in this post-apocalyptic world, telling Ellie to be quiet while holding a gun at her face. So the idea of childhood being lost is something I loved in this episode. So overall, I adore this show so far. Obviously, the heights of episode 3 is going to be really impossible to meet for the remainder of this season. But this is one of the best shows I've seen in a very long time. We're 4 out of 9 into the show. We still have 5 more weeks. Because of the Super Bowl being on Sunday, they're actually releasing the 5th episode of The Last of Us this upcoming Friday. So I will be doing a breakdown of the 5th episode of The Last of Us on Saturday, this upcoming week. And obviously that means next Monday I'll have no video because there'll be no Last of Us episode. So this Saturday I'll break down the new episode of The Last of Us as it releases on Friday night ahead of the Super Bowl. More videos are coming this week on the channel, including a box office breakdown show tomorrow, Bad Batch review on Wednesday. Multiple streaming movies are coming out. Towards the end of the week, I'll do some reviews of those as well. So tons of reviews coming in. As I said, Saturday, we'll get my breakdown of the next episode of The Last of Us. Thanks for joining me.